Good morning and happy Father's Day to you all out there. Welcome to the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave on this glorious Sunday morning. Yes. I'm your host, Justin Rose, joined today by Dave Birkett of the Free Press and newcomer to the show. Welcome.
Dan
Leach.
Good to have you, Dan.
An honor. Great to be with you guys.
97 won the ticket, but most famously for his play-by-play of your Detroit Titans.
Hashtag for the love of Lords, little Robert Goulet.
I mean, this guy has been on sport. We don't know if I've ever had a Sports Center.
I'm just worried I'm not going to get a word in today.
Oh, you're going to get a word in.
Yeah.
Am I the first guy to be in Sports Center in the Sports Cave?
Might be. We might have to go back and check the tapes.
I was feeling emotional, and I feel really emotional.
So how's it going? I know, Dave, happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day. You're the only father.
The kids are back home watching, so how you doing, kids?
Oh, a little shout out. That's so sweet.
I love that.
Nice
sentimental guy.
No, listen, it's a special day, and I don't have kids yet. I will someday. Kids that I know of, at least. And I got to bring my father on my radio show earlier today for his radio debut, and want to wish him a very happy Father's Day. Everybody that's celebrating out there, it is a special day for everybody.
Absolutely. Rick's at home watching as well, and Rick will be appreciative to talk trash about the Tigers because we got to start there.
That's what everyone's doing.
We're going to talk about Tigers. We're going to talk about Max Scherzer, the U.S. Open. We got a new segment we're going to start today called Hot Takes. It's going to be really good stuff, arguing with these guys.
Down on that one.
We're not going to want to miss that one. But we do have to start with the Tigers. Before we do, make sure you get your questions in. If you want to start talking about the Tigers online, go on to Twitter. Use the hashtag 7SportsCave. We're going to be getting to those in the next segment, so get them in now so that we can get time to get you on the television. All right, Tigers. Losers of 4 straight. Last night's, though, was the cake. I am, again, not going to say, 68 games into the season that they're done.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see the warts a little bit more clearly.
Well, and it started really on Wednesday. After they lose the 8 in a row, they kind of get their head above water. JV comes back, and then they just got VMAR back. But, you lose in 13 to the Todd Frazier Grand Salami, and then you go to New York, and the first pitch JV throws to A-Rod is a bomb for his 3,000th, which the Yankees didn't want to celebrate anyway. And I'm still more disgusted than I am panicked. This team should be better. But you mentioned the 68 games. In 2012, they were under 500 at this point, but it was a different team in a different division. It wasn't the Royals ahead of them. Some other Twins still hanging in there, which they will be for a lot longer than people think they will. But this team is just not a consistently good, balanced team, whether it's offense, whether it's obviously Alfredo Simon, who's been solid for most of the year, was god-awful last night. The bullpen is garbage. Right now, I'm pretty worried. They're going to have to make several moves, and you're going to have good batting from Victor Martinez just back and Justin Verlander.
68 games is a long time. I know you said you're not worried, and we're coming up on the midpoint of the season right here, and they have some problems that I don't know that they can fix real easily. I mean, the staff is. They got Verlander back. I just don't know what he can add to the mix at this point. You miss a guy like Scherzer. Sanchez hasn't been consistent. You mentioned Simon. He's pitching pretty well, but I just don't see it. And for so many years, that staff was able to carry this team. I'm not sure that they have problems that are going to be fixed. You got 2 teams ahead of them. They're 6.5 back in the division right now. They really need to get this thing straightened out soon.
Somebody brought up a really interesting point to me, and maybe you guys can both speak to it. I have noticed that you have to keep this in mind. I came from Pittsburgh to a team that was galvanized behind great leadership in the locker room, behind an Andrew McCutchen, behind guys that would go out there, A.J. Burnett, guys that wanted to win.
Guys.
Russell Martin was the greatest example of all this. I come and I start covering the Tigers team. That doesn't exist in this room. Are they missing a leader?
V-Mart might be that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get V-Mart back, I think there is a hope that he's going to be that guy. A lot of people respect him as a player. Obviously what he's done over his career, and not having him, that really hurt the lineup. I think more than the Verlander addition, I think the V-Mart addition is the one that could lift this team and get them back.
And I'm with you on the V-Mart thing too, but I think that Leland was kind of, whether you liked him or hated him, he was that steady force for a long time. And I think Brad Ausmus gets way too much criticism and doesn't get any of the credit when things go well, when he turned things around and stayed level-head after the 8-game losing streak. But as a second-year manager, you really need. Cabrera's one of the best players in the history of baseball. He's not that vocal leader. You mentioned V-Mart, which could help, and you would hope a guy like JV, if he gets his head above water, could be that kind of an emotional leader. David Price is a little more quiet. But I think Ausmus in his second year, on top of the fact, that McCutchen or that A.J. Burnett, can really kind of hurt the chemistry, and kind of, if we get 2 down, we got to get back up.
And you're not going to be able to go out and get a guy before the trade deadline and have him come in and say all of a sudden, all right, everybody, this is my team. I'm taking over the ship, because a lot of the times when you get an experienced guy who has been a leader when Joe Mauer came to Pittsburgh. He kept his mouth shut.
You're not going to get
kind of
a leader, but maybe you can get some talent. I don't know. I mean, the Tigers farm system is not really good.
Sure,
but
no.
if somehow they could land a Hamels or a Cueto or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Heck, even in a row with Chapman. I mean, they're going to need a bunch of pieces. And
Nobody's talking about that leadership anymore. Then you're talking about what the arms they had. and what they
That's a
could
very
do on the
good
field.
point.
Yeah, and I just think that right now, the one thing that makes you feel good if you're a Tigers fan, the defense is way better. I like what Cespedes has done. Iglesias, even with Kinsler in his batting slump, he still is playing good in that middle infield. I feel good about that, but the offense isn't balanced like it was early in the year. Pitching staff, who knows what's going to happen. And the bullpen's a gas can right now.
Yeah.
If that doesn't change, I don't care who they bring in, the Tigers can't make the playoffs.
Very good point. One guy they won't be bringing in because he ain't going anywhere. Max Scherzer. I mean, last week we're talking about him and going, well, he had a good game, just 16 strikeouts. Yesterday, the no game. I got to talk more about the perfect hitter. I mean, congratulations, Max, on your first career no-hitter against the Pirates. You did it against my beloved Pirates. But we were robbed a baseball moment yesterday, were we not? Even though a baseball moment was had with that night. Let's take a look at the video here real quick. Jose Tabata, who I know to be just not a very good clubhouse guy, not a very good baseball guy. He leans into this pitch very clearly. Take a look at the replay here. The count is 2-2, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. And Tabata bends down into the pitch when you could have moved. You could have moved. You could have moved. I could have moved. I know it's not his job to get out of the way. But that being said,
Not a Tabata fan, huh?
Yeah. I thought he was your best friend. You said you were at the prep. He's your best friend.
I am not a fan of what he did to get into the way of that pitch. And I think that somebody brought up the point, what if he would have done it in the first inning? I go, it's different. If you do it in the first inning, it's a moot point because you don't expect to get to a perfect game in the first inning anyways. But when you're at 2-2 count, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, you're down 6-0, you're not going to win the game, and you bend your elbow down in. Instead of most players, how many times do players go up and out and the ball cuts through their underbelly?
That's all the time we have in the show today, Dan.
Yeah, I guess we're done. I was
just started.
This is my point, and I was just on air a little while ago, and a lot of the listeners were it was very divisive, but there was more people on your side. I look at it like this, and there was an incident that happened recently in the College World Series, I believe with Vanderbilt, where a guy got hit by a pitch. The umpire said, "You got hit, but you're staying here." Tabata's job is to get on base, whether it's 6-0, 1-0, 100-0. So while he definitely leaned a little in, can you blame him for at least trying to get on base? If he went up there, Justin, and bunted, that's one thing. Then throw the chocolate
Justin,
sauce.
I'm with you.
Earn it.
There's no honor in getting on base the way that he did 2 outs in the ninth.
This is the same guy that had to get sent down to AAA because his attitude in the clubhouse during a Pirates run to the playoffs wasn't up to snuff, and the manager said, "Hey, we're going to cut you unless you get your act together."
Look, I think you're right. I think a 6-0 game, perfect game on the line, 2 outs, 2 strikes.
I'm not saying
is different than the first inning.
There is pride. So you're saying
Exactly,
by
and there's
getting
no
hit by a
honor
ball
in
that you
getting
can
on
get out of the
first
way
base.
of his
What sort of
pride?
pride
See,
is
the
that?
way Tabata's looking at it is, listen, Max Scherzer's about to throw a perfect game against a team that was 10 games above 500, one of the hottest hitting teams in baseball. I'm not letting this happen. Now, if he jumped into the ball, that's one thing.
He did.
Leaned down, had the little guard on there. I don't know.
Whoever's pitching for the
This
Nationals
just goes
today better
to
show them what a hit by pitch is about, right? I mean, that's what you
No,
should
I
do.
agree.
That's the first time that a hit by pitch has broken it up in 2 outs in the ninth inning since 1908 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Walt Haight.
I think Scherzer's the second guy to ever have it broken up that late with 2 outs in the.
Well, Bill Pappas in 72, but that wasn't a hit by pitch.
Galarraga?
Well, we're not going to bring up
That was a totally
Jim Joyce.
different thing.
Yeah.
The Nats color guy said this is the worst way to get it broken up. No, Galarraga.
Yeah, absolutely. This just goes to show you never trust anybody who has lips tattooed on his neck. Anyways, we'll move on. Lions wrapped up their activities in minicamp this last week. Training camp, not until the end of July, end of
6
July.
weeks from today.
6
report.
weeks.
Isn't that amazing?
It goes by so fast. But I think everyone's excited.
Oh.
And I think there's optimism going into this season. The players were talking a lot about how they felt this time around that they were further along in the system under Caldwell in his second year. This is his second minicamp. Dave, did you see that? Do you feel that? Or is that just kind of player-coach speak?
They better be. I mean, this is year 2, right? If they're not, there's a problem. No, I mean, I think there's definitely some validity to that. Now, how much that pays dividends this fall remains to be seen. I still have my doubts about the defense. You lose Ndamukong Suh, it's a huge loss, obviously. They have Haloti. I don't think that defense is going to fall completely off the mat, but I do think the offense needs to step up, be more efficient this year. I think they need to get more out of Matthew Stafford. He needs to be more consistent with his decision-making, with his accuracy. They're going to get a lot from Amir Abdullah. We saw that this spring. He looks like he's going to be a really good player, have a big impact on that offense. But I just don't know. When I see that defense in camp, the age, the injuries are still a concern to me.
Well, and I'll tell you this, and I was out there at minicamp too, and listen, there's in pads or not in pads and in shorts and helmets, so you can't tell a ton. Stafford's completion percentage, 86%. I'm kidding. But I will say this about the defense. I know that you're concerned, many are concerned. 9 of 11 starters back. I think Haloti not as being kind of undervalued. The guy's a former Super Bowl champion, knows Terrell Austin, cheese grater up there on the defensive line. They signed Tyron Walker. They draft Gabe Wright. I think Karan Reed had a good minicamp from what I could see. And you mentioned Abdullah. The running game was awful last year, and obviously Reggie Bush, unfortunately, was a part of that. But I look at it like this. If Abdullah's returning kicks, if he's in the backfield catching passes out of the flat, which almost seemed like exclusively they were doing at times during minicamp, that's going to help, along with Bell, along with Riddick. You hope Ebron's better. If that offense can be some kind of a balanced feeling, along with the defense, it doesn't drop too much without Ndamukong Suh, this Lions team will be tough to beat.
I don't think, again, that they're going to fall off the map, but to me, the NFL, you win with great quarterback play and you win up front on the offensive and defensive lines. The biggest question marks that this Lions team has right now, the defensive line, where they've revamped the entire defensive tackle position. I don't see a lot of sacks coming from that group outside of Ziggy Ansah. The offensive line, really young. I think they have some potential, but they're really young. Who knows what they're going to be? And then Stafford. Stafford's a really talented guy, but he needs to get it together.
It's a big year.
Team.
Stafford, 86% completion percentage. You heard it here first. Don't joke.
I would never.
Joking show. All right, later on, hot takes. The hottest takes you can get in Detroit. We're going to be doing that, but coming up next, your tweets. Make sure you use the hashtag 7SportsCave right now. We're coming back after the break with your tweets.